Hey guys, it's Clara and Arya from Online Fabric Store. If you have a short-haired dog and live in a cold climate, a warm doggy jacket is a must, but it's hard to find one that fits just right. I'll show you how to make a custom coat with fleece, a layer of nylon to make it waterproof, and a Sherpa lining to make it warm and cozy. The collar flips up for extra protection, and this one has an opening for a harness. So let's get started. Dogs come in all shapes and sizes, so to make a well-fitting dog coat, you need to create your own template. First, you need some measurements of your dog. For the back length, measure from the collar to the tail. For the neck circumference, measure around the collar. For the chest circumference, measure around the largest part of your dog's chest. Decide how far down you want the coat to hang on the side, starting from the center of the back. For the chest height, decide the width of the front straps by measuring from the bottom of the collar to where the strap should end at the chest. Next is the neck to bottom strap measurement. To determine where to start the bottom straps, take a measuring tape, a piece of rope or something similar, and drape it over the back so it's a comfortable distance from the back of the front legs. Make sure it's hanging straight, then measure from the collar to this spot on the back. Next is the front strap length. Now move the tape to the collar and measure from this spot straight across to the center of the chest. If you want to be able to use a harness while your dog's wearing the coat, measure from the collar to the center of the harness buckle. On a piece of pattern paper, start by making a rectangle that's the back length by the side height. If you don't have pattern paper, you can use craft paper, tape pieces of paper together, or even use a large scrap of fabric. Take the neck to bottom strap measurement and mark this distance in from the bottom left corner of the rectangle. Generally, the front strap width, which is the chest height measurement, is also good for the bottom strap width, so make another mark at this distance. Next, take the chest circumference, add 2 inches so the straps can overlap, and divide it in half. Make a mark at this distance starting from the top of the rectangle. Draw a rectangle for the bottom strap from the marks. Draw another rectangle at the bottom left corner of the large rectangle. The width is the front strap length measurement plus 1 inch for overlap. Use the chest height measurement for the height of this rectangle. Next, add 2 inches to the neck circumference for overlap and divide that in half. Take a flexible measuring tape and curve it so the distance from the top left corners is that amount. It may end up just being a small curve in the corner like this. If you want to have an opening for a harness, measure in the distance from the collar to the harness and make marks on either side that are 2.5 inches apart. You can make this opening larger if you prefer, especially for bigger dogs. Round the corners of the 2 straps a bit, as well as where the bottom strap connects in the bottom corner. Finally, add 1/2 inch for the seam allowance around the entire thing. If you are not making a harness opening, don't add the 1/2 inch to the top line. To make the collar piece, trace the neckline onto another piece of paper. I'm making this collar 4 inches wide, so adding 1 inch for seam allowance, the template will be 5 inches wide. Draw a horizontal line at the top that's 5 inches. From here, you can decide the shape of the collar. I started by drawing a vertical line a little before the curve of the neckline. Measure out 5 inches from the curve to create a dashed line. Connect the dashes and curve the bottom corner a bit. You can do a smaller or larger collar depending on the size of the dog. Cut out the shape and mark the top with the word fold. It's a good idea to cut out a scrap piece of fabric first to make sure the body template works well for your dog. I forgot I don't need the top seam allowance for the collar, so if you added it to the top of the main body piece, cut off 1/2 inch at the top of the collar piece. Once I cut the collar template out, I decided to change the shape a bit, so I angled the bottom and rounded the corner. Fold your outer fabric in half and place the top of the template on the fold. Trace around the pattern and cut out the fabric. Do the same for the collar piece. Repeat for the lining and nylon fabrics. All the fabrics I'm using are washable, so you can throw the coat in the wash when needed. For the nylon, I ended up cutting off the straps because the fabric doesn't stretch at all, and the straps will have more adjustability without it. If you are including an opening for a harness, use the template to mark the opening. Sew across the top fold with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Stop at the mark and backstitch, then backstitch again when starting after the other mark. Repeat for the lining and the nylon. Cut open the fold. With the nylon, open the seam and sew on both sides of the seam to keep it flat. Cut out 2 pieces of fleece that are 3.5 inches long and between 2 and 2.5 inches wide, and a piece of nylon of the same size. With a fleece and nylon piece together, attach one side of the snap in the center of the fleece side. You can use sew-on snaps or heavy-duty snaps like the kind I'm using here. See our tutorials for more details on attaching snaps. With the right sides of the fleece together, sew one of the long sides and the 2 short sides. I'm going to round the corners a bit as I sew. Turn the piece right side out so the nylon is in the middle. With the non-snap side of the flap facing the right side of the fleece at the slit, tuck the flap in the opening so the edges match up. Sew together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. The other side of the snap will be attached later. Cut strips of Velcro that are 2 inches less than the width of the straps. You'll need 2 of the hook side and 1 of the loop side, and cut the loop side in half so you have 2 1-inch strips. Sew the hook side to the front side of the lining with it centered and 3/4 of an inch from the end. Do this for the chest and waist strap on the same side. Sew the loop side to the front side of the fleece in the same way, but make sure it's on the opposite side from the lining. Place the nylon on the wrong side of the fleece and sew around the edges except for the straps. You can sew with a long stitch length with a 1/4 inch seam allowance or less. This is just to hold the two pieces together. At this point, you can attach the other side of the harness flap snap, going through both the nylon and fleece. The nylon acts as a stabilizer, making the snap stronger. You can also add an optional snap on the collar to keep it lying flat on the back. Attach one side to the collar, centered and about 2.5 to 3 inches in from the edge. Attach the other side to the back at the same distance, but I'd suggest moving it to one side or the other of the seam to make it stronger. With the right sides of the fleece facing, sew the collar piece to the body. Sew the collar lining to the body, but leave a gap of about 4 inches in the middle. With the right sides of the fleece and lining facing, sew all the way around the edges with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, including around the collar. Turn the coat right side out through the opening in the collar lining. Hand sew the gap closed. See our invisible stitch tutorial for more information. If you included the harness opening, also hand sew the fleece to the lining around the opening. And now, Arya is ready for a walk. You can also make a raincoat the same way with just nylon as the outer fabric and a lighter lining like flannel or poplin. Thanks for watching this OFS project. The materials used in this project are fleece, Sherpa fleece, nylon ripstop, Velcro, thread, pattern paper or a large piece of paper, a measuring tape and a ruler, snaps, which are optional, scissors, a fabric marker, clips or pins, and a sewing machine. Ready, Arya? Yeah.